Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Catherine. I am a singer and yodeler who lives in Los Angeles, and I am also a vocal coach, and I teach you guys how to yodel or how to yodel better. And this week I got a comment on one of my videos from Linda Christine. I'm going to read the comment to you. It says, I wonder if there are a few tips to make my breath last longer whilst yodeling. I feel like I lose it quite fast and can't keep going yodeling for more than about 8 to 10 seconds at a time. Linda does say she also suffers from asthma, so keep in mind that I am not an expert on asthma. I'm saying it in a very German way, I know. Forgive me because I am still German. But I have a few tips for you how you can improve your breathing technique and your singing technique in a way that you can last longer. Whether it is for yodeling or just normal standard singing, it applies to both. So let's get into how we can grow our yodel stamina and yodel longer phrases without running out of air, or sing longer phrases. It applies to both, so you can use this for regular singing as well. Before we get into the tips on how to do it, let's really quickly talk about how breath and singing works and what's happening in our body while we do that. A lot of people tell you sing from your diaphragm, which in a way makes sense, but in a way also doesn't, and I'll explain why. So when we take a breath and we breathe without talking or singing, we just obviously breathe in and the air comes right back out. When we have to sustain our breath, whether it is for talking or for singing, because we're using the breath to move our vocal folds up here, that's when we need our muscles down here. So what happens when we breathe in is our diaphragm creates a vacuum. Our diaphragm is about here. It creates a vacuum, and that vacuum draws in air into the lungs. If we don't have our muscles engaged down here at all, usually it just comes right back out because the air will be released. We have abdominal muscles and muscles all around here on the sides, on the back, don't ask me what they're called, and in the front, and they are connected to the diaphragm. Because they are connected to the diaphragm, when they're engaged, they are holding the diaphragm down and they are helping the diaphragm to release slower so that the air that's coming out of the lungs only comes out a little bit at a time. Again, when we just breathe out, it all comes out at once, but when we talk or when we sing, we need to pace it. And I don't know exactly what happens when we have asthma. I know that you're more short-breathed when you have asthma. I don't know if it's something to do with these muscles, but I know that these muscles can still help. So we need to learn, one, how to make the most breath-effective sound that doesn't need a lot of air and that doesn't waste a lot of air, because let's say we're singing very breathy, we're also letting out a lot of air at the same time, which can be saved. But also, sometimes our body just really yearns for an in-breath. Instead of not having enough air left in here, it's more like, I need to breathe in again. Obviously, all of this is a training thing. So it's a training thing on vocal technique, how to make that really effective, clear sound that wastes little air. And then the other thing is, how do we train these muscles to help us keep the air in and release it slowly instead of releasing it all at once? Those are the two main things that will help you hold your breath longer. But let's get into some exercises on how you can strengthen these muscles, how you can practice this without even getting into yodeling all the time, just how you can get stronger in a breathing and singing kind of way. So how to use these muscles. Honestly, if you do a workout and you work out these muscle groups here, that's already really good. So even if you just do a physical workout and you warm up these muscles, that's gonna help for you singing right after. Just make sure that you take a few minutes to breathe so you're not out of breath. But if you go for a run or if you do squats or anything like that, or just engage these muscles, maybe sit-ups, your singing should get easier. You should definitely try that before you try anything else, just to see what it does when your muscles are warmed up. And then come back to this video again and try the other tips. But if you have time to do a little workout, do that and try singing and try yodeling after and see if it is easier than usual, because it should be. There's an exercise that we can do that kind of just warms up these muscles if you only want to do a little singing warm up instead of a real body workout. I think they do it in yoga too. We call it impulses. It's hard consonants with those quick contractions of the belly muscles. So for example, I would have to show you from the side. So you see how it pops in and out with each one. So you don't want to hold it and naturally after each one, air comes back in. So this is just a way how to warm these up. It's not a hold your breath as long as you can type exercise. It's a warming up these muscles exercise. So you can go, and you could do all of the hard consonants. You can do and all of those work. And you can make up your own thing. You can make up your own pattern. I do break. You want to only go as fast as your belly allows. It has to move with each one. So if it doesn't work at the speed, go slower. If it's too easy, go faster and really do it until you feel those muscles burn a little bit. That's a good warm up for this. If you want to just practice holding and pacing your breath, what you can do is you can put your hands here. Ideally, I'm not sitting right now. Ideally, you'd be standing because your body has more room. If you're also sitting, just make sure you sit up straight, maybe at the top of your chair so you're really straight. So you put your hands here and you feel into those muscles that you feel or that really get activated when you cough or when you laugh really hard. Let's try a cough just to feel those muscles here. Obviously, all of these muscles are engaged, but also the side ones. So try to find where they are and then try to engage them without coughing and see if you can do that. You're trying to push your hands out. So you really try to push your hands away. See how I'm doing that? It's a little bit like when you're in the bathroom too, so some of those muscles are engaged then too. If that's easier to imagine as you're doing this, go for it. So you want to push out your hands when you feel like you're running out of air. This exercise is literally just taking a breath in and then letting it out on and then doing it in a very small way so that you can hold it as long as possible. Once you start feeling that you're running out of air, you're trying to push towards your hands with these muscles to keep that diaphragm down, to get it going longer. So I'm just gonna give you an example. Breathing in, ideally into here, because we have more space here. We can hold it better when we get wider here instead of this is we can't hold it here as well. It feels stressful. So try to breathe into the rib cage and then you go. You keep going, and as you're feeling like you're running out of breath, you can also feel like you're getting a little louder. That wasn't as long as I can go right now, but I don't want to keep you there just watching me sit out. You can time this on your phone or any timer or stopwatch that you have and see how long you can go. And even just doing that is a good breath exercise without having to really even get into singing, just to practice that separately. So that is a way to engage those muscles, either warming them up physically, doing this little exercise that we did, and then also just doing the breathing out slowly exercise. For the yodels, when it specifically comes to singing or yodeling, definitely watch my vocal twang video, the #1 vocal skill that you need for yodeling. Because if you twang your voice, you can take out more of the breath of your voice. Because if you yodel very breathy, especially on those head voice notes, you're gonna lose a lot more air. So you do need to engage the core a lot for yodeling. So it feels like you need to be ready for someone to punch you while you're yodeling, but you also need to relax when you're taking a breath. And those things can happen really fast while we yodel. Because when we're yodeling, there's this quick breath that we have in between and we need to let go, and then we need to, I don't want to say clench again, but we definitely need to engage those muscles again. So look into the vocal twang video. Feel free to watch a lot of other or some other vocal twang videos as well that you can find, because you just want to find a way to make your voice strong, both for chest and head voice. Because if you yodel like this, you're losing more air compared to a. You hear the difference? It's still head voice, but it's a strong head voice up there, and it's gonna save you breath by doing it stronger and not losing as much air. So really work on that twang. Work on your head voice separately if you feel like that's an issue, if you feel like you're having a hard time making strong head voice notes. Then work on your head voice to make it stronger, and then work on the transition again from e to e or from o to u. So the u is also strong and not breathy. Because that's what often happens, and it just makes it a little bit harder to yodel longer. So while you yodel, make sure that you have a strong, clear, non-breathy sound, and make sure you have those muscles engaged. That's important, and that's going to help you yodel longer. Another trick, I'm just adding things on here. Another trick that sometimes can help for holding longer phrases while you're practicing. You probably don't want to do this if you perform somewhere, but you can use your arm as a parameter. Is that the right word here? Your arm is showing you how long the phrase is. So it's telling your brain how to pace the air. Outstretched arm is the end of the phrase. Arm here is the beginning of the phrase. So if I was trying to sing maybe half of Happy Birthday, just as an example, I was trying to not all of a sudden and get to the end of my phrase with my arm here before I'm done singing that phrase or that line. I want to exactly pace it. So happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. And I actually still had a little bit of breath left. That was all of happy birthday. You could do the same thing with a yodeling phrase. And so on. This actually there was space in there to breathe. So that's the next thing that I'm gonna get into. A lot of times we do have time to breathe. We just don't know how because the breaths are so quick. And I'm gonna get into examples of songs right now where you can breathe and examples of songs where it's harder to breathe, but you can still make time for a breath in the yodeling songs. So this thing, if it helps you, sometimes it can make things a little trickier because you have to actively think about your arm while also thinking about what you're singing or yodeling, but it can be a really good guide for your brain in how to pace your air. But let's talk about yodeling songs specifically and where you might be able to add breaths and where it's harder to add breaths, and how we can either work with that or sneak in some breaths, because that's definitely what I do sometimes, and that's not forbidden. We just have to make it work. So for example, if we take the example of He Taught Me How to Yodel, which I have a tutorial on my channel if you want to go watch that. There is that yodel part that I call the bridge, or just the bigger yodel part, that goes something like this. So maybe you already saw when I took a breath, they're not always big breaths, but because my muscles are helping me, as long as I get some sort of a small breath in, that helps me enough to sustain myself throughout the yodeling phrase. I'm going to show you where you can add breaths in and where I usually add breaths. So you can do a quick breath here. I'm going to show you by doing this, okay? So you don't have to do a breath every time. You just want a quick silent breath, and you can practice silent breaths. You can practice silent breaths just by opening your mouth. Go and fill. Do you feel that? It's not, it's just because we're opening and the air is just coming in. It's not loud. And you can do that as you're singing. Now, I will say this, if you yodel slower, because yodeling faster is still harder, that can make things harder because you have to hold these phrases longer. They're easier to yodel because you don't have to flip-flop your voice so fast, but then you have to hold the phrases longer. So if I was doing this slowly, Yodel, 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 ti. Yodel, yodel, ti. Yodel, yodel, ti. You even have more time to add in some more breaths. But also keep this in mind. When you practice yodeling slower and your goal is to get faster, you don't have to do perfect with the breath if you know that you're gonna be faster anyway, which makes the amount of time that you're gonna be yodeling shorter in total. I hope that makes sense. It's always good to work on your breathing technique and be able to sustain that longer. But if you're practicing a new yodel very slowly, it makes sense that you're not going to get through that whole phrase if you slow it down by half the speed. So don't be too hard on yourself if that's what you're having trouble with, because you can just get faster and practice getting faster, and then the breathing should be getting easier as well. Now, there are songs like Bergvagabunden that I haven't taught you guys yet, that there is very little room to breathe, and sometimes I just cut off a little bit because I'm so out of breath. Because sometimes you have a song where you have a verse and then directly after you have the chorus, and there's just not a lot of time to really rest and breathe, but also the yodels are so close together that there is little to no time to breathe. And you can train yourself to work through that. I've done it, but if you have a long gig or you're singing more things, or you're just short of breath that day, find a way where you can breathe. And most people won't notice if one yodel syllable isn't there. That's the good thing about yodeling, because we're not singing words for those yodel parts, we're singing syllables. So if we skip one, no one will know. So I'm gonna give you this example. Whole thing in one breath, but combined with the whole rest of the song, it can be a lot. And I just often feel like I'm out of breath. So I'm going to show you how I breathe here and how I sneak in a breath halfway through. So I go, so you see that instead of holare, I just often say re-di. So instead of da-da-dum, I go da-da. So I have a quick moment to breathe. Instead of holare-di, I go re-di. So instead of holare-di, e-di. Holare-di, e-di. That's the difference. So you can just cut syllables, and sometimes you have to slow things down if that doesn't make sense in your brain yet. But if you know that you have a song that is tricky to yodel all the way through because there's no time to breathe, cut some syllables, usually at the beginning of a phrase. I find it easiest, or at the end of a phrase. We could do that too. It would just sound a little bit different, but instead of Rudy, oh, I just go Rudy and leave it there. There's no rule that says you have to sing a yodel song exactly the way that you heard it. You can work up towards that, but you don't have to do it. You want to make sure that you have enough breath, because if you don't, your notes are starting to get flat, your technique is not going to be as good, and your body just has to work even harder. Your body is going to have to work hard anyway, but keep that in mind. If you have a yodel song that really has no room to breathe, just make room to breathe. So those are my tips for breathing and getting through longer yodel or singing phrases, and how to train for that and how to manage it when you come across one of those. Obviously, there are many very specific examples, and if you have any that you get stuck on, let me know in the comments. Maybe we can go through them in another video, or if you want some one-on-one time, you can book a lesson with me. You can go to the link in my channel, which has my website listed, and on my website, you can send me a message if you would like to book a one-on-one lesson with me, either for yodeling or just a normal singing lesson, and I would be happy to help you. I hope this video helped you and showed you what you can work on to make those phrases a little bit easier to get through. And I hope it made you understand how our whole apparatus here works, so that you can use it to your advantage more. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you liked it. I would love to see you back here on my channel. Thank you so much for supporting me. I really appreciate you being here and watching my videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye, everyone.